On this episode of Looking Back, we are looking back specifically to 1861 on January 19th in Lancashire, England. Apparently on a Monday, there was about 5 or 6 men and women who were gathered in a cottage by the fire. They were all chatting when all at once they were very, very alarmed by some sounds in the cottage, as if somebody was knocking really violently in a room upstairs. This noise continued for some time. Lots of knocking and banging. And they said it happened with so much force that the concussion of the knocks or the bangs actually shook the house. And they felt like the house was going to actually fall down. One person stated that a chair that he was sitting in actually was lifted up a little bit by the percussion of these bangs or knocks. They had no idea what was going on. And it was suggested that there was a woman who was upstairs who was ill. And they were thinking, did she fall out of the stairs? But why would the continuous knocking happen? So they went upstairs and they went to her apartment and they asked what was going on, right? She's not on the floor, she's actually in bed. And apparently she was somewhat of a medium. And she said an apparition had visited her and that the figure was a man dressed in black and he looked grim and rough. Now I'm figuring that means that he was probably a little bit more on the derelict side, that he wasn't a well-dressed, dapper gentleman at the time. So she described something breathed in her face and that the candle that was lit in the room burned dim and then finally either went out of its own accord or was extinguished by this gentleman's hand. And so she was very upset and the house guests were very upset. And she told them further that she inquired his name. Said that she was troubled by his presence. And then on the third time of asking the specter his name, it actually spoke in this really thick, husky, hollow voice, and it told her, while pointing in the direction below, to follow him to the cellar of the house, where that he removed a flagstone on the hearth and that something would be found buried under this flagstone. Okay? And so this was the purpose of his visit, to reveal the location of what was buried under the flagstone. So the guests of the house decided this is really interesting. The woman in bed who was ill said that the specter actually vanished like a dim shadow. And then they all discussed this around the bedside of the woman. They decided, let's go down to the cellar and see if we can find something. They were very curious. So all of the guests go down to the cellar and they look at a flagstone hearth and they dug it up. I guess it was, I don't know if it was the center stone, but it didn't look exactly as level or as even as the rest of the stone. So they went ahead and they dug it up. And what they found right below the surface were bones, human skeleton, and a large quantity of hops, which I don't know why there was hops over it. Maybe somebody thought it would diminish the smell of a decomposing body, but there was hops all over the soil. So obviously they called the officials and they came in and the officials examined the bones and said that the state of decay led to the supposition that a really long time had elapsed since they were put in the ground. So whoever these bones belonged to had been dead quite a long time. And the article went on to say, it is regretted that the ghost did not reveal more of the secrets of his prison house. It may be that he was forbidden to do so. No one can tell. So it's pretty interesting that this ghost appears to a woman who's known to be a medium, who's ill upstairs in bed, on the night when there was a lot of guests assembled in the cottage, so that, because she could not get out of bed apparently, they could go downstairs and find the body. They don't know if it was a murder. They have no idea if this person died of natural causes and they didn't know what to do, so they just covered it up. They have no idea to this day whose body was buried under the hearthstone in the cottage.